In 1994, there was an assault weapon ban. The evidence indicates that there was really no change at all in crime because the crooks are going to get a gun. I bought an AR-15 with a seal of my reserve unit as a token of my time in service. Why would anybody need to own an AR-15? If there is a breakdown of law and order, and that can happen. We've seen it happen in our major cities. Remember Hugo, where people were isolated for days? Remember Katrina? It's not impossible to find yourself in the modern world without any police protection.
That's, of course, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina voicing his opposition to any ban on semi-automatic rifles while visiting a shooting range in his home state. Meanwhile, recent polling shows overwhelming support for certain gun reforms. According to a new Politico Morning Consult poll, 85% of registered voters support background checks on all gun sales. 79% support background checks at gun shows and private sales. And 64% say they support a ban on assault-style weapons. Joining us now is Chris Brown. She is president of Brady, a nonprofit organization working to unite Americans against gun violence. Also with us, anti-gun violence activist Fred Guttenberg. His daughter, Jamie, you'll remember, was killed in the 2018 Parkland, Florida school shooting. The two now announcing a new partnership today focused on educating elected officials, companies, and Americans to help prevent gun violence. Good morning to you both. Thank you for being with us. Fred, let me begin with you. We've always appreciated you coming on this show, and we think about you a lot around these stories. You've been such a powerful voice here, and we always send out our heartfelt condolences about Jamie, who was such a wonderful girl, as you've told us many times. Tell us about what you're working at today. We've seen, again, instances of gun violence 3 times, most prominently over the last 3 weeks in Orange, California, at a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado, and, of course, at the spas across the state of Georgia in and around Atlanta. What are you working on today, Fred?
You know, let's start with the Lindsey Graham stunt, because depraved and killers across this country are now going to watch that video of him using the weapon that killed my daughter. A single shot from that weapon down a hallway severed her spinal cord, just like he stood there and shot it. And teenage killers across this country are watching him. And let's not also forget that earlier in the week, he announced that he keeps that weapon in his home and probably unlocked. So what are Chris and I working on? Listen, I've come to a place where I always say I know, but I also know what I don't know. I know I don't have the organizational capability to achieve my dream that I've dedicated my life to in honor of my daughter, Jamie, which is gun safety. And this year, I don't have the organizational resources to really get out there and tackle the Senate to get this done and to make sure people understand how deeply this is wanted by a bipartisan majority of Americans, mayors and governors who are both Republicans and Democrats across this country want gun safety and want it this year. And then we have stunts like Lindsey Graham, and we have people like Mitch McConnell basically announcing Republicans in the Senate won't go along with anything. They're just not going to. They are going to thwart the democratic will of the people. So Chris, who is a dear friend of mine, and I are coming together to hopefully bring the entire safety movement together, speaking with one clear voice. That includes the big groups, as well as all the amazing grassroots groups who are out there fighting every day for gun safety, because this is the year, the time is now.
Chris, I know you've been working for a long time on this issue. Many groups have been working for a long time on the issue of gun safety and against gun violence. Do you think there's a moment in time right now, as you look at some of that polling on the way people feel, for example, about background checks, on, frankly, a weakened NRA right now, do you see an opportunity in front of you in this moment?
I think there's a huge opportunity in front of us at this moment, and that's why I'm so thrilled to announce the partnership that we're really continuing with Fred today. You know, Fred is an incredible leader, incredible voice in this movement. He's the voice of a survivor. We have far too many of those people, and we don't want the change to happen a year from now or 2 years from now. We need to save the 100 lives a day that are ended by gun violence. And you noted the spate of mass shootings correctly that we've had. But, you know, we've had 3 mass shootings in Chicago in that same period of time, and it hasn't gripped the headlines in the same way. I'm incredibly confident because our movement has never been as strong and powerful as it is. We just got $5 billion in the infrastructure bill led by Black and brown activists and the Community Justice Action Fund to combat gun violence at the community level. We want the policy change. We want better enforcement. We want funding. In short, we want it all because we have an epidemic that's preventable. And we're not going to have any more members of the club that Fred tragically is a part of. That's what we're committing to. And I do think we have real potential legislatively, through executive action by the Biden White House, and through the budget, through more funding to combat gun violence.
Fred, it's Kasie Hunt. It's good to see you again. And I know you had attended a State of the Union where this issue was raised. And, you know, I started covering this during the Newtown shootings when the families of those children who were tragically killed, you know, met with senator after senator. And I know you have been in similarly heart-wrenching meetings. And it's just been so dispiriting to feel that no matter how many times this happens, no matter how many tears are shed in meetings like that, nothing changes on Capitol Hill, which, you know, I think to the point of this organization, it's going to have to come from elsewhere in the country. And I just want to know, do you feel hopeful that the message is getting through, that there are people who are realizing that the ground is shifting on this issue, that people are, in fact, tired of seeing this again and again? More than tired, they are traumatized and feeling like we can't keep doing this?
Never more hopeful. And I'm glad you brought up the State of the Union, because what happened there was me calling out the lie that this is a Second Amendment issue. It is not. This is a public health issue, and Americans understand that, which is why the past 2 elections turned on this issue of gun violence, because they want to be free from this issue. They want to be free from the risk that they may have to bury someone they love. What happened at the State of the Union was a megaphone on stage calling out a lie, and we're going to have no more of this. Together with the amazing groups in this movement, we are going to make sure those in the Senate and those in the House and this administration understand what Americans across the country already know. We need to reduce the gun violence death rate. We need to reduce the instances of gun violence. And unfortunately, we also need to figure out how we're going to reduce the severity of gun violence injuries when they happen. And we're only going to do that together. And candidly, this is the year that we have to do this. I don't want to go through another election cycle debating why we're not doing more to save lives, to save children, to save those who want to go shopping or who want to worship. The time is now.
So, Chris, let's be very specific about what you're asking of Congress and what you'll put before lawmakers here in terms of background checks, in terms of what you believe should happen with semi-automatic rifles. As you know, the vast majority of gun violence in this country is conducted with handguns. Do you have a view on that? Where are you asking these members of Congress to go with legislation?
Thanks for that. Yes. Well, we have bills that are pending. So we have H.R. 8 and H.R. 1446, both passed Congress, the House, in a bipartisan vote. They're sitting in the Senate. Senator Schumer has already said he will bring H.R. 8 to the floor. And to be clear, those are the 2 bills in combination that will strengthen our nation's background check system. Jim and Sarah created that system 27 years ago with Congress, but the internet was formed. And there are gun shows that are big business. As a result, 1 in 5 guns is sold with no background check. Your polling data shows Americans are united on this issue. And on assault weapons, we have an assault weapons ban bill. nearly 200 co-sponsors now in the House of Representatives. David Cicilline introduced that. We want that to be passed. It's not a shock. Lindsey Graham got it wrong. Every study that has been done on the assault weapons ban that was in effect for 10 years shows a reduction in the use of those guns in mass shootings by 25% or more. We know that those kinds of policies work. We will be pushing those hard. We also want executive action from this White House, and we want stronger enforcement. We want a real director at the ATF, and we want real responsible gun dealers to be held accountable if they're selling crime guns that are flooding into communities across this country. Those are the major areas of focus for us. And as I said, we want this treated across the board as the public health epidemic it is. So we will be looking for legislative and budget solutions that combat it in a real way to save lives.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.